Ryan Holt from the Bakersfield Condors joins us. Always a pleasure to welcome you back, Holty. Sorry that we bring you in while we're doing a bunch of nonsense and bullshit, but how have you been enjoying this Oilers playoff run?
It's been great. You guys have a much better background than I do. So I need to be in Fort Lauderdale. I think that's where I need to be. I don't know
Yeah.
how you guys got so lucky, but I'm happy for you guys. You guys look great, and great to be on with you.
We're also, the AC in our room is not working that well. As you know, we are beat red. It is so damn hot out here, but I'm sure you're used to the heat down in Baco. The Oilers, couple of days away from kicking off the Stanley Cup final, and obviously the reason we wanted to have you on is just the Bakersfield Condors organization has their fingerprints all over this team, and understandably so. But it felt like for so long in Edmonton, especially through that decade of darkness when it was OKC for a little bit, it was like, man, you looked at these other organizations who just constantly had this train of young talent coming up from their American League team, and it was like, we wanted that. Why can't the Oilers get that? And they finally have that. I guess where I want to start is like, what have the vibes been like down in Bakersfield for you over the last couple of weeks, watching all these former Condors do what they're doing in the Stanley Cup playoffs?
Yeah, it's great. It's kept the buzz alive here in Bakersfield too, at a time when hockey becomes second nature, or kind of back of mind for a lot of folks. So I think the connection between the Condors and the Oilers and Bakersfield and Edmonton has never been stronger. And I think it's cool now for fans because we're going into year 10 now at the American Hockey League level. You're seeing kind of different eras of Condors hockey with this Oilers team, right? You're seeing, when we first started, it was Leon and Darnell, and you're like, oh, okay, they were here for a bit, and then it kind of, there was a little lull, and now you're really kicking it into high gear. Guys like Skinner and Desharnais, Broberg, McLeod, and then Pickard and Yermark, guys who kind of reinvigorated themselves here in Bakersfield too. So I think that's the cool part about it is you're seeing guys from year one in 2015, but also guys who were just in our playoffs, a couple of weeks ago here in Bakersfield. So it's really been cool. From my perspective, from a personal perspective, we get to see a lot of these players as kids, right? Evan Bouchard and Leon Draisaitl, they come to us when they're 19 years old. Holloway comes to us when he's 19 years old, and you're seeing them now become men and, at the highest of levels. These aren't guys just playing in the NHL. These are guys playing at the highest level, the Stanley Cup final, and we had a big part in it. And it is really special, and it's cool. And, I never thought, growing up in Boston, I'd be rooting for the Edmonton Oilers in the Stanley Cup final, but that's exactly where we are right now.
There's so many specific players I think we want to hit on with you, but one, Evan Bouchard is not just playing well. He has a legitimate case to be their Conn Smythe Trophy favorite right now. And he was only down there for, 50, 60 odd games in Bakersfield. But was there one moment for you or maybe one thing about him that you looked at and were like, man, this guy's going to be special?
Yeah, I think he's so mature, right? And I know everyone, kind of called him dad and stuff, but he's a mature kid first and foremost, and that was a really fun time for our organization, right? That was kind of the 2019 Calder Cup playoffs, so we were going into back-to-back division titles. COVID kind of messed it up a little bit in terms of the development for some of the guys, but when Bouchard and McLeod, and I mean, you throw Kyler Yamamoto kind of in that realm right there with the Tyler Bensons of the world, that was a really fun team, right? That was a youthful team. That was a developing team. For Evan Bouchard, when he came during the Calder Cup playoffs that year, because London kind of got upset, I believe, that year. They were supposed to go further. They didn't. He kind of got upset, and all of a sudden he fell in our lap. And we were like, and I remember looking at Jay Woodcroft at the time going, what are we doing with him? Because he's got to play at some point, right? And we were kind of itching to get him to play. And that first game, he had 3 points against Colorado in game 3. Game 4, he scores the game tying goal against Colorado. And he just took off from there. Just a steady player, just a guy who, he gets it. He definitely understands it. He knew it from day one. We saw it in that first series against Colorado. He was our best defenseman the next year, and then we never saw him again. And that's the cool part too, is eventually, I'm going down the locker room and a guy's got his bag and he's leaving, and I'm never going to see, figuratively, I'm never going to see him again in the Condors jersey. So that's the cool part about it. And yeah, he was just, steady from day one. And it was great to see him grow up and, have those trials and tribulations, but also become an elite NHL defenseman.
One guy who is a dad is Sam Gagner. Everybody loves Sam Gagner here in Edmonton. Everyone's clamoring for him to get into a game. But I just want to know the impact and kind of the attitude he had when he came down to Bakersfield, because he was doing pretty well in the NHL and obviously didn't finish up there. But what was he like when he came down?
Yeah, I kind of lump Sam much like I lump, guys like Matthias Janmark, right? Kind of those tweener guys. Adam Ernie can kind of be in that realm as well too. Just based off contract situations or numbers, they might have to spend some time in Bakersfield. And I think Sam was, a consummate pro, a guy who, I mean, it's hard to not trust a guy who has 1,000+ NHL games, when he's in that locker room. He's seen just about everything. And I feel good for him too, that he's, able to be part of this run, whether he's in the games or not, just because, as you mentioned, he was there when times weren't really great, and things weren't good. It was tough to kind of have personal pride when, the team wasn't performing the way that they wanted to perform. So happy for him. He was great when he was here. And he's been here a couple of different stints now. And I think the cool part is some of his teammates didn't, I don't think, realize, how long of an NHL career he had, when you kind of looked at it. And I think it's really cool that he's part of this run.
Yeah, it's been great to see Gagne and the celebrations in the locker room. Earlier on in the show, we did our didn't see it coming bingo card. Didn't have it on our bingo card segment where we ranked things that were surprising about this playoff run. And one thing that was really high for me was the emergence of Philip Broberg. And we've talked to people like a Bruce Kurlock who watches a ton of Condors hockey, and he sits there and goes, I'm not surprised. He's like, I knew the kind of player he was. I knew if he got the opportunity, he'd step in and make the most of it. For you, when you watch a guy like Broberg all year, obviously do what he does down in Bakersfield, one, what have you thought of his game? And two, is it maybe sometimes frustrating for you to be like, God, I know he can do it at the next level. He just needs that chance.
Yeah, I think there's two parts of it, right? At the AHL level, you're given more opportunity than what you're going to get at the NHL level, right? He's going to play more minutes at the American Hockey League level than he will in the NHL. But how does that translate when you get up there? And I think in talking with Philip, the second time he came down this year, the first time he came down, he was definitely, I'll use the word aggravated. Just he wanted to be in the NHL. He made some mistakes. He got sent down. He didn't feel like he had an opportunity. That second time he got sent down, it was, let me be as dominant as I possibly can at this level and kind of force someone's hand and say, listen, this is what I am. This is who I am. He was so good the second half of I think I tweeted a couple of days ago. He was the best prospect developing defenseman in our division. That includes Brant Clark. And I think Clark is, a year younger, 2 years younger, but Broberg, for me, he played in every situation. He was playing about 28 minutes a night. He was quarterbacking our power play, which I didn't anticipate him being so successful in quarterbacking our power play, but he was so good. And we had the second best power play in the league. So happy for him. He's such a good kid. And listen, sometimes it takes longer for people, but he's 22 years old. I mean, how much, rope can we give a kid? I mean, let him develop, let him have fun and enjoy it. And let him be, and I liked Paul Coffey, last game, I think, talking to him on the bench. Let him grow and develop, and if he makes a mistake, it's okay. Feel like you're okay. You're a confident defenseman. Great to see him score a goal in Dallas. That was awesome, and just really happy for him.
Last one for me, and I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but you obviously have Bouchard, high draft pick, a lot of pedigree, tons of just natural talent, right? Same thing with Broberg. You mentioned the sense of pride in these guys who come through Bakersfield and make an impact in the NHL. Is the sense of pride different with a guy like Vinny Desharnais, who wasn't that top 10 pick, who has to, again, I want to sound weird, but has to work for it a little bit more, it feels like, than the other guys, and had to stay committed to it a little bit more maybe than the other guys. Does it feel different watching Vinny do what he does?
Absolutely. And that's the cool part about it too, is we've had the first round picks, the Brobergs, as you mentioned, the Bouchards, the guys who, no matter what, they're going to the NHL, and I'm glad that they're there. I'm glad that they're at the highest level. That's great. But we've also had those other guys who, let's face it, even Stuart Skinner. I mean, there's no guarantee Stuart Skinner is getting to the NHL, let alone being the starting goaltender for a Stanley Cup finalist. He's a third round pick. He's going to get some opportunities, but he's going to struggle and he's going to develop. And there's only one net. But Vinny Desharnais, for me, the joy and one of the moments that I had with him was we were in Calgary when he got called up, for the first and only time and ended up staying and never leaving. And we had just lost. We lost a goal late in the third period. I came down and I kind of knew he was going up. I didn't know that he had been told he was going up, but he was already in tears and he lifted me off my feet, and said that we all had a big part in him getting there. And of course, at the time I'm thinking, okay, there's a couple of injuries. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, man. Don't worry. And, he forced people's hands and he's forced everyone's hand along the way, whether it be in the ECHL, in the American Hockey League. I saw him after game 3 down in LA and, he's one of the guys that always comes up and, asks how everyone's doing and what's happening and what's going on. And that is the cool part. Him, James Hamlin, you can go back to like guys like Josh Curry and James Gambardella and Joe Gambardella. And we had a big part in that, but they also had a big part in that. And it's great to see him at the highest level. And, Vinny will get his shot certainly. And, he has tools that not many have. So it's been great to see him.
I want to look ahead just for one question. Who's the next guy? Who do you think the next player from this Bakersfield team is going to be that has an impact on the Oilers roster, whether it be, but let's just say next season?
Yeah, that's a great question because I think it depends on what the need, I guess, is, if you will, right? Raph Lavoie has been pushing for a couple of years now, right? And obviously an elite goal scorer at this level, a guy who, can impact a game, but can he do it on limited minutes at the NHL level? And that's always the struggle, right? You end up in that tweener stage of, how do I get him into a lineup, but also he's going to play 5 minutes and, well, he didn't score any goals. So, he must not be worth it. So I think he's the next one of, the guys up front that, probably gets a crack. Jaden Grube opened up a lot of eyes, I thought, this year, just in terms of his two-way ability. I know Noah Phillips coming back into the organization too, so that's great for the organization. Strong down the middle, but Grube obviously being younger. I think if he continues developing, that would be great. So there's a couple forwards, but Max Warner was great on the back end too. Just a physical, defenseman who can move a puck, who can skate. I don't think it's next year, but I think it's, down the road, he's in that conversation of a guy who, could potentially be up there. But again, it depends on what the need is, right? And you got to be able to fill that void. And guys like Ty Tullio and Carter Savoy, if it's 5-6 minutes a night, make those the best 5-6 minutes that you can earn and figure it out from there. So it'll be interesting because there's a lot of guys in the boat and we'll see who comes off the boat and gets up there next.
Yeah, our boy Mainlander Tim in the comments wants Ryan back in the summer to talk about some of these guys who are next. So if the people want it, we might have to give it to them. Enjoy the Cup final, Ryan.
I'm always around. Thanks, guys. Enjoy Florida. SPF 90. Make sure you oil up there a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. See you, Ryan.
See you, Ryan.
Thanks, guys.
There you go. Ryan Holt on the Star Mechanical guest line. What a beauty. It's always great to chat with him.
What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.